Hi, my name is Sulujis Karavani and my register number is UR15CS362. I am going to do IP addressing and subnetting. In IP addressing and subnetting, for class A, the address will be between 1 to 127, and for class B 128 to 191, and for class C 192 to 123. 223, and for class D 224 to 239, and for class E 240 to 255. And the IP address for class A will be 10.0.0.0 to 10.255.255.255, and for class C 192 to 168.255.255, and for default submask for class A is 255.0.0.0. So for class B is 255.255.0.0, and for class C 255.255.255.0. and in first question they have already, they will give the number of needed subnet and subnet 3, and number of needed usable host 45, network address 200.175.14.0. This is a question they have given. From this we have to assign the address class. Here the address class will be C, and default submask will be 255.255.255.0, and custom subnet mask is 255.255.255.192, and total number of subnet is 4, and total number of host address is 64, number of usable address is 62, and number of bits borrowed is 2. And by this we have to put the tabular column, and we have to assume for subnet 1, subnet 2, and subnet 3 for subnet network address. Subnet 1 is 200.175.14.0, and similarly to subnet, but the last two digits will be changed as 14.64, and for subnet 3 14.128, and first valid host address for subnet 1 is 200.175.14.1, and for subnet 2 is 14.65, and for subnet 3 is 14.129, and last valid host address for subnet 1 is 200.175.14.62, and for subnet 2 is 14.126, and for subnet 3 is 14.190. And now calculating the broadcast address for subnet 1 200.175.14.63, and for subnet 2 14.127, and for subnet 3 14.191. And next I'm going to second question. In second question they have given number of needed subnet is 10, and network address is 172.59.0.0. From this we are assigning address classes B, and for default submask is 255.255.0.0, and subnet custom subnet mask is 255.255.240.0, and total number of subnet is 16, total number of host address is 16, and number of usable address is 14, and number of bits borrowed is 4. And here also we are calculating the same subnetwork address for subnet 1, subnet 2, subnet 9, and subnet 10. And here for subnetwork address, subnet 1 192.159.0.0, and for subnet 2 is 16.0, subnet 9 is 128.0, and for subnet 10 is 144.0. Next we are calculating the first valid host address for subnet 1 is 172.159.1.0, for subnet 2 is 17.0, and subnet 9 is 129.0, for subnet 10 is 145.0. And next we are calculating the last valid host address. For last valid host address for subnet 1 is 172.59.14.0, subnet 2 is 30.0, subnet 9 is 142.0, and for subnet 10 is 158.0. Next we are calculating the broadcast address for each subnet. For subnet 1 the broadcast address is 172.59.15.0, subnet 2 31.0, subnet 9 143.0, for subnet 10 is 159.0. And for third question they have given the number of needed usable hosts is 50, and network address is 172.159.0.0. Here from this we are assigning the address class as a B class. Address class is B. Default subnet mask is 255.255.0.0. Subnet custom subnet mask is 255.255.255.192. Total number of subnet is 1024. Total number of host address is 64. Number of usable address is 62. Number of bits borrowed is 10. And in subnet address, here also we are calculating the subnet address for subnet 1, subnet 2 and last subnet. Here for subnet 1 we are giving the subnet address is 172.59.0.0, subnet 264.0, and last subnet is 255.192. and first valid host address, we are calculating the subnet 1 is 172.59.1.0, for subnet 2 is 65.0 and last subnet is 255.193. and next we are calculating the last valid host address. For subnet 1 is 172.59.62.0, for subnet 2 is 126.0, and for last subnet is 255.254. Next we are calculating the broadcast address. For subnet 1 is 172.59.63.0, for subnet 2 127.0, and for last subnet is 255.255. and next we are giving here they will give the topology and they will give the IP addresses, and they will give the 3 hosts for marketing, research and management. For each host they have given the number of hosts. For marketing they given 24 hosts, research they have given 60 hosts, and management they have given 15 hosts. From this we have to put the tabular column. We have to find the subnetwork address, first valid host address, first valid last valid host address and broadcast address for marketing, research and management. Now we are going to calculate subnetwork address. For marketing is 196.34.20.64, for research 20.0, for management 20.96. link between the router is 20.128. and for next we are calculating the first valid host address. For marketing is 196.34.20.65, and for research 20.1, for management 20.97, and link between the two routers is 196.34.20.129. Now next we are calculating the last valid host address. For marketing is 196.34.20.94, research 20.62, and for management 20.126, and link between the router is 196.34.20.130. Next we are calculating the broadcast address. For marketing 196.34.20.95, for research 20.63, and management 20.127. link between the router is 20.131. in next question they have given the topology for Dallas, Washington DC and New York. For each they have assumed the host. For Dallas they have given 150 hosts, Washington DC they have given 220 hosts, and for New York they have given 325 hosts, and they have assumed the IP address also. Now we are going to calculate for each. Here for subnetwork, now we are calculating the subnetwork address for Dallas, Washington, New York, link 1 between router, link 2 between router. For subnetwork address for Dallas 135.126.0.0/24, for Washington 1.0/24, for New York 2.0/30, and link between the router is 2.0/30, and link 2 between router is 2.4/30. and next we are calculating the first valid host address. For Dallas is 135.126.0.1, for Washington 1.1, for New York 2.1, link between the router 135.126.2.1, and link 2 between the router is 126.2.6. and now we are calculating the last valid host address for Dallas 135.126.0.254, for Washington DC 1.254, New York 4.254, link 1 between the router is 2.2, link 2 between the router is 2.6. and now we are going to calculate the broadcast address for each for Dallas 135.126.0.255, for Washington 1.255, New York 4.255, and link 1 between the router is 135.126.2.3 and link 2 between the router is 135.126.2.7. Thank you.